Good afternoon, and welcome to Ask the Dogman Live. And we are both Facebook and YouTube live today, so whatever channel you're on, just make sure that it's coming through okay. So this is Angel Soriano, aka Dogman, and I am here with our talented producer, James Stone. I mentioned earlier that this is a live show, which means that some things can go wrong, and they've gone wrong in the past. And guess what? They probably will again. Okay, for some reason, things happen when you're running a live show. It's kind of fun, actually, from my perspective. Not our producer. He kind of stresses out when things don't go right. But anyway, that's what happens when you go live. And I think he's stressing out right now. He thinks something is not working. So just please roll with the punches till he hits the right buttons and keys and all that. And meanwhile, I'll do some small talk. If you're new to the show, okay, are we stressing, James?
Look at it.
That got me sideways. I love it. All right, James is going to try to figure out why this is going on. But if you're new to the show, this is a show where we offer solutions to your canine behavior and training questions. That's the intent, anyway. As he's breaking the air.
We're still running on YouTube.
We are running on YouTube. So there. Okay, so I'm going to keep talking. You guys can just join in. Normally, between the two channels, we get it covered. So while we wait on people kicking in or so, I can see the camera over there, and we're, right side up. Although,
That's different.
I was going to say, that's a different show. I got a different shirt altogether. While we wait on callers, I wanted to talk a little about the end of summer type stuff going on with school restarting up again and kids going back to school, which means that typically... If you could see what I can see from this angle, which means as a result of kids going back to school, it just, we can actually, believe and understand why dogs do what they do and why they act out, and they will act out, by the way. Okay, so typically this time of the year is a little stressful for Fido. I just want you to know that, okay? It really is stressful for the dog whenever this goes on. Not every dog, just some dogs more than others. So, by the way, your questions are much more important to us besides James messing around with the equipment. So pop those behavioral questions in the comments section and we'll address them as you see some come up, if you see some come up. So, why do I believe that this time of year is bad for dogs? Look, it doesn't need to be bad, but it typically is. And that's because most people refocus back on the kids as they should, right? Life kicks in and what happens, people do what they need to do. So typically that happens and, you got school activities kicking in, you got sports, you have, grades, good or bad. And on and on and on. You got school stuff going on that should be more important to you, right? And that's normally what happens. So anyway, all things said, the kids take priority and we end up kind of not doing what the dogs need from us. So, by the way, the kids being away for school time can also create anxiety and issues with your dog, and that's because you've asked your dog to babysit your kids for 2 months, and now all of a sudden they're gone. So they miss the kids too, and they should. So understand that that's going on with some dogs. By the way, some dogs, nothing affects them. They're clueless. As a matter of fact, they may be happy the kids are back in school, right? So, but a great number of them will be affected by this change. It's a change in behavior in your whole household. Things are going on. So. Anyway, are there any questions yet? Or
yeah, we got a question.
It's like, when are you going to fix the camera? Is that the first question?
The camera's not going to be fixed. We're doing this for another 25 minutes. So, yes. Anyway, Carly would like to know. She has 4 dogs.
Wow.
And recently they started pooping on the deck. This
Whoa.
has never happened before. So what do you think would cause them to have this change in behavior?
A lot of things. We can guess a lot of them, but they start doing that kind of stuff. Typically, one starts it off, and the other one say, "Well, that must be the right thing to do." For them to in this mode, but it's more important to say, well, how do I figure out how to interrupt this matter, right? Instead of trying to figure out what originally cost. Now, don't get me wrong. Most of the time, we do attempt to figure out what the original cost was, because if we can defeat that one and get rid of that issue, then the rest of the problems typically go away. But who knows what the cost is? But when you have more than one dog, in your case, you have 4. Wow, anything one dog sets, most of the other ones will follow, especially if it was the leader that did it. So a couple of things. One is I would certainly clean your deck out. If it's wood, it's going to be really hard, okay? So I would clean out your deck with a good product. I mean an enzyme type product that you can put down and clean those smells out of there and get it out. If it's wood, you'll have to do it several times. You may have to put a product over it. The point is, get rid of the smell, because right now, even if it's not smelling to you, it's smelling to them, and they're probably coming back to it because it's, the place to go. It's the new place. If they've gone in this area a bunch of times, then just assume that they're probably peeing there too, and it really has a stench that they're picking up, and it has to be cleaned out. Next is, you probably need to go on duty, and that is, anytime they go out, you have to be there with them. Okay, and if they're out there by themselves, I would suggest you border that area off. You can get temporary tape or something or other, little tiny fences. They got those little 2-foot fences or so. It's enough to discourage the dog to enter that area. We normally do that whenever dogs have a worn out area in a yard somewhere. We just say, hey, put a little barricade fence, and dogs stay away from it. They just don't know any better. It's the same thing with this. Put a barricade over it and manage the situation. Just get to the point where you finally say, okay, they're keeping away long enough. And then you must reward the new behavior. So if you're out there babysitting this animal or animals, and if they decide to go poop in the grass because you did not make the deck available to them, then the minute they poop on the desired area, whatever that might be, which is hopefully grass, then reward that behavior. Start treating it like a puppy. Good potty, good whatever you reward mechanism you have for potty training, whatever you used back in those days, use the same thing. Repeat it over and over again and establish a new pattern. But the fact that they've gone on this deck, be it wood or cement is also porous. It's the same thing. Rock is porous. So whatever it is, you got to get that cleaned out well, because otherwise you're inviting them back in there again, right? So continue to try products until you get on top of it. I don't want to recommend a particular product. There's lots of them out there you can try. So anyway, let's move on. What else we got?
So Sheila asked...
Not another poop question.
No, not another poop question, but almost probably more disturbing.
That's a good setup.
Sheila asked, she says her golden Samson won't quit licking them and everyone else. Recently, she's heard of a person dying and another person having their hands and legs amputated because of a bacterial infection from licking dogs.
Whoa.
Should she be concerned?
Whoa. Wow. I'm way outside of my knowledge base. I've been in this business for a long, long time, and I have not been exposed to such input. So Sheila, I don't even know how to answer that. I do not know. But I'll leave it up to our listeners and watchers, and if somebody has facts they can offer, or if there's a medic out there or a doctor, somebody that understands as well and says, that's nonsense, or it's true and this is the reason, please comment, tell us about it, because I don't know how to answer it. I guess the answer is I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know
about you?
James
has got medical background. Wait a minute, James.
No, I don't. I can't answer that one as far as who be concerned, but I can tell you can get on top of the licking problem.
Sure.
And you can do that with a spray bottle. Anytime they lick, put it on the mist setting with their interruption word.
Yep.
Or even use bitter apple, similar to like you would with chewing. But you can get on top of the licking to prevent any type of nuisance behavior just from that. But outside of the meaning of it, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good point. I mean, we might as well address the behavioral side that we know how to address, and forget the medical side because we don't have a clue. So, good question though. So, what else we got?
That's what we got.
That was disturbing.
It's very sad.
Yeah, it is sad. So, so should we go back to what happens when kids go back to school?
Yeah.
Everybody gets very happy around the house besides the dog.
Right.
Parents are happy they finally got rid of the rug rats. Everybody's back in school, but the dog can suffer. So there's a lot of things we need to do. There's a lot of things we need to pay attention to. The dog not getting the attention they normally get just means they may get destructive. They're going to get depressed. A lot of times they're going to get stressed out, right? Sometimes they're even going to get frustrated, right? If you have a high energy dog, and one of my dogs is a high energy dog, she's a retired drug dog now. If she gets frustrated, she will get destructive. Now, how do I keep her from getting frustrated? Is you play the heck out of her. You throw ball around a lot. And by the way, she invites the game. She'll bring stuff to me at home while I'm watching TV. She'll bring something that she wants me to throw. So it's not about playing ball in the house, because she'll bring anything. It doesn't matter. She'll bring a piece of foam for me to throw. So the point is that for a high energy dog, if they don't stay in the game, if they don't stay involved, they will have issues as frustration, and frustration is going to cause other problems. So anyway, you got to keep them engaged one way or the other. So maybe, James, this is a time that people need to have more bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
As a parent, you're a parent, all of a sudden you end up needing more bandwidth where you didn't have it before.
It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle to keep the kids' homework done and bathed and fed, and still give the dogs the attention that they need, because you start to see their behaviors return.
Yep. Very quickly.
Very quickly.
Right. The behaviors you thought you got rid of, all of a sudden you got a dog chewing on a piece of wood in your house. It's some sort of piece of furniture or something. You're thinking, what's the matter with this guy? And then we're losing our temper, right? We're getting upset. This dog knows better. Well, guess what? He's stressed, or he's been left out from all the family decisions. So anyway, spend quality time with the dog again if you can. And obviously, that's going to be, again, you probably need more bandwidth, right? And then, maybe task the kids with homework that includes every day you got to play with Fido, 5 minutes.
It's a nice getaway, especially from in front of the iPads and TVs and Xboxes.
Yeah. So anyway, by the way, the other point that I tell people is, look, you probably need a break anyway. You dropped off the kids. Have you considered taking the dog for a walk, right? You took the kids to the bus. Why not take the dog with you to the bus stop, and now they got to walk? Try to engage them a little bit more, where normally they would stay in the house. At least they get to say goodbye to the kid. They get to say hello to the kids, right, when you go pick them up at the bus stop, or in the car if you have to go to the school. Some parents drop off the kids and pick them up. So why not get the dog involved? At least they start stimulating them a little bit more, right? The other part, and people are doing this more and more and more, and I really believe it's really a terrific idea. They do it a lot in big cities. My niece tells me about it. She lives in San Francisco. Hire a dog walker, right? The professional dog walkers will come to your house. They have a key or the keypad or something, and they get into your house. I mean, these people are certified, they're safe. They pick up your dog and they take him for a walk somewhere.
Yeah, and I know there's apps out there, there's companies that are very similar to like Uber and stuff, where they're insured and bonded, and so it's there's at least some type of safety net involved in hiring these people to come and walk your dog. Yeah, without a doubt.
So the other input, of course, and this is not intended to be a plug, but why would I be in the air if I'm not plugging, right? And that is, why not send the dogs to boarding school, right? Just the kids went to school. Why don't you pick 1 or 2 days a week to say, hey, look, the dog needs more obedience anyway, right? And they need more foundation. There isn't a dog out there that I don't see normally that does not need more foundation. So why not give them 1 day a week, or 2 days a week, or 3 days a week, depending on what your pocket can afford, and just say, look, let me get my dog busy, get them back on the straight and narrow, and now the dog stays busy throughout the day with, a bunch of dogs that he knows and gets to play a little bit with, but more importantly, a foundation of obedience that all dogs need, right?
It's that personalized one-on-one attention that they seek, and then the socialization from the other dogs.
Yes, without a doubt. The other point, of course, is the social stimulation that they get, right? Because they need that. They need that from people. They need that from other dogs. Dogs are such social animals, by the way, and for the most part, it's just like most of us, right? They need some social stimulation. They need that contact from person to person, or from dog to dog, inside the pack, outside the pack. Anyway, it's a tough time right now with school. That, I guess, my point in all this. So, any questions?
I do have a question from Terry. She says recently...
Carrie or Terry?
Terry.
Terry
says...
Hi, Terry.
Asked, anyway, recently her German Shepherd has been eating a lot of grass He doesn't throw up at any point, no change in his food or treats. Doesn't this typically indicate an upset stomach?
Yeah. Well, it could. It could. There's so many different things that your dog eating something out of the norm indicates, right? This happens also with dogs that eat poop. Disgusting. I even have a video on that, by the way, so go look for it. It's a disgusting habit. But yeah, it could. Some, or a great number of dogs actually will eat to supplement something that's going on internally, and others, of course, they're eating because yes, they are trying to force themselves to throw up. So grass kind of causes that. I've seen dogs eat rocks, little pebble rocks or whatever, and that gets really, really dangerous because they eat enough of them, and it doesn't go any further than the tummy, and before you know, you end up with all sorts of intestinal issues that the only way to fix it is through surgery. So you got to be careful with that. How to stop it is probably the question that we should be dealing with. As to how it got here, who knows. So how to stop it? I would ask your veterinarian to do a checkup on your dog and see, is there something chemically missing? Is your dog attempting to supplement? If he's not throwing up, that means he's accustomed to this and he's not really sick, okay? But if he's supplementing, what is he supplementing? And normally a good chemical test will come back and they'll be saying, hey, he's low on something. He's low on vitamin D or E or I don't know, whatever. The other question I guess would be, and a little bit of research will probably tell you because I don't know the answer to this, is what does grass, and I imagine this is Bermuda, what does it provide? I mean, it probably has some supplements or some sort of either vitamins or supplement or something that is within this plant, within this grass, that the dog is getting. But there's a good likelihood that he's supplementing something in his diet. And by the way, the fact that you have not changed his diet does not mean that his body has not changed. Right? So it could be that you're saying, hey, it's the same food he's overeaten. Manifest itself in something like this. So I think that's the best coaching I can give you right now. But a good vet, your vet, will probably know exactly what to run as far as tests. If you struggle with it, let us know, comment back, and then what we'll do here is we'll talk to our vet and ask him to give us the list of what blood tests should be run. It shouldn't be too extensive, but there's enough that'll tell us what the health care of the dog is. So anyway, hope that helps.
And one thing that I would add to that, and on top of your dog changing or their needs may be changing, one thing that's very, very common is that though you may not have changed the brand and type of food that you're feeding your dog food companies have no obligation other than just moral obligation to let you know that ingredients and sources have changed. And so a lot of times you'll feed the same type of food and be very happy with them for a long time, but they'll change an ingredient and all of a sudden your dog starts having problems. I've witnessed that in my own dogs at home where we would go years on a particular brand of food and then something would change. And so we would contact the wholesaler. They would tell us that, oh yeah, they changed this from this type of cow to that type of cow or whatever the case may be.
Or added a grain.
Or whatever the case may be. And now my dog is having, eating grass or dirt or poop or whatever. So be mindful that it may be your dog's food. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a really good point. And it's funny you should say that because I think it was about the same time we suffered the same thing. And it may have been the same food we were feeding them, but we suffered the same deal. And with ours, I think it was a case of the runs. And we had at the time we had a lot of dogs in our facility, and that's because we were in the drug business as well. And I mean that in a positive way. We had drug dogs that went to schools and we searched for drugs. Anyway, we had a number of dogs in-house, and it was like overnight, right, that we went to, I guess a new bag. It was the same food as always, but it was a new bag, and every dog got the runs, and we immediately thought, okay, it's got to be a bad batch or something poisoned or something, right? It may have been a different time that this happened. But anyway, all that to say that, James's point is correct. It turned out that they had changed their formula. The label never said it until, 6 months later. So when they finally updated their label, and meanwhile, they had changed their formula a little bit, and it was enough to upset these dogs. It was not poison. There was no problem there. It's just our dogs did not react well to it. So anyway, yeah, that was good editorial there. That's a good point. So it may be food, right? So just pay attention to it. Good question.
Well, you got one more question here from Riley.
Good.
They want to know, their dog stays off the furniture for the most part whenever they're home, but how do they keep the dog off of the furniture when they're not at home?
Yeah. So you're pointing out a couple of things, actually. One is your dog knows right from wrong. That's kind of cool, by the way. That means that's a smart dog, right? So the other is how you keep a dog off of furniture is you make it as hard as possible. Okay, I mean one item is you could kennel him or whatever, and just make sure that he does not have access to it. You don't do this forever. You do it for a period of time until he gets over it. The other is make it very hard. Take your chairs, stools or whatever, and put it across the furniture that he likes to go lay on, right? And make it hard for the dog to get in there. You'll have to modify this over time. You're probably going to have to put one here and put one there until you finally stop seeing, the remnants of your dog being on the couch. So make it very comfortable to be on the ground. His bed is very available with his toys in it. You even leave a Kong on it, something for them to play with and eat while you're gone. Meanwhile, you make it very impossible for them to get on there. If it's bedroom, close the door so they don't get on the beds, and that makes it less accessible. Remember, if you're there, he's not jumping on there so they know right from wrong. If you're not, then they're opportunists, right? They know you're not there, so they're going to go lay in something comfortable. So leave them something comfortable and make it impossible to get on the other. Now, if you're like some people I know that have a lot of furniture and it's hard to cover every single one, you get yourself some bubble wrap. You can put it across, just the top of your furniture, and as they, get on it and it pops, and normally, it's enough. The pop sound is enough, and the feel of it is enough to get them off of it. Hopefully they won't sit there and spend their whole day popping like we do, right? Maybe they'll like it, who knows? But the point is, do things of that nature to keep the dog off. James, anything to add to that? Or?
No, that
Good.
works.
Good.
Lynn wants to know why the phone keeps moving.
Lynn must be my wife, I'm sure, because she's the critic on the cameras and the sound. I'm glad that we have a critic. But so for those who are tuning in now, we had a lot of camera and sound issues when we got started, and one of the cameras will not stand the right way, which normally we do our cameras horizontal because that's how they look best. I don't know what happened to, is it YouTube or Facebook that did this? Facebook. So Facebook is sideways, or the vertical way or so. So anyway, so why it's moving up and down is because the stand that I hired is a little bit drunk. It's called James. Okay, his hand is all over the place. So anyway, that's probably the reason. So, but I'm glad the show's coming to an end because his hand is getting tired. It's getting lower and lower. It started nice and high, and
my hand is tired.
Yes, and now he's using two hands. He's doing this bit to hold the camera. So anyway, any more questions? Or good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and end it today so he can rest. So there you have it, folks. Thank you for tuning into our show today of Ask the Dogman Live. We appreciate all of you being here, and I told you we were going to have technical issues. We always do for some reason, but I'm surprised it wasn't lighting, because we talked about lighting, didn't you? Mm-hmm. And we actually positioned them, and he did all the right lighting stuff, and guess what? Lighting went well. But we're really sorry if we did not get to your question today, but normally what we do is we go back in time or through the comments, and we try to post something on there, some sort of response, so you have some sort of feedback from you. So we'll be back next week, Tuesday the 21st at 12:30. Same social channels. Hopefully the cameras won't move around all by themselves like they did earlier. It'll be YouTube, it'll be Facebook Live. Remember, if you like this show, tell your friends, share it, like us, watch us again, please. All we ask is for some social traction, some social following. Really, there's no other cost. Just share it with folks, and if you want to tell them how many problems we had with our cameras today, that may get them to tune in just for the good laugh. Last, I would not be doing my job if I did not remind you all not to struggle with your dog training or behavioral issues. This is what we do, and we'd love to help you out. So this is Angel Soriano, aka Dogman, barking back at you. You asked, we answered.